friends, it's Teresa and welcome back to my channel. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about my favorite video games. I have a handful, I don't even remember how much I did, 9 video games / 9 video game franchises where the storylines are just immaculate. The thought behind it is great. If you like these kind of videos from me, let me know in the comments down below. Subscribe, like, and comment. Tell me your favorite video games in the comments, whether you've played it or watched it. I have only played a handful of these games. I've watched most of them, I know. Mainly because most of these are horror games. So I also didn't get into playing video games until my adult life, and a lot of these games came out during like my youth to college years where I did not and could not afford a console. Let's hop in the video. Okay, so the first one I'm going to start off is a horror survival game, and it's actually kind of a, I'm still working my way through the franchise, but the one specific one that I love going back to is Fatal Frame 2. It's Fatal Frame 2 something something butterfly, right? But this follows two twins, Miyu and Mayu. Miyu and Mayu visited this valley that they used to play at when they were younger. Now, while the two sisters are close, there is a little bit of estrangement there because Miyu accidentally inadvertently caused an accident that Mayu was involved in, which had her sustaining a very lifelong leg injury. Now the two of them get separated in this valley, and it's up to Miyu to kind of battle the ghosts haunting this village, stop them from killing them, and then reunite with her sister before it's too late, because this village has a very, very dark past, and as she traverses through it, she learns more and more about its secrets, and it's not looking good. I love this just because the mechanic to me is just so novel. I'm sure there are other games like this, but this one specifically, the mechanic just really worked for me. It was, you have to battle and solve these puzzles by taking pictures with the camera obscura, which is a camera that kind of follows the games throughout, that helps capture the ghosts, free them, or defeat them. And I like that. While this was a survivor horror game, it was very realistic in its sense. You didn't get really guns, you don't have like mystical magical powers you can adapt and pick up as you're going through the game. You are just you and a camera. And that was something quite terrifying to me, and the more you learn about the village and its history and its secrets, the more you're like, oh no, they really need to get out of this guy, like now. I also feel like the setting for this game is just very eerie. You're in a village and you're just kind of literally stumbling through each house and each thing, trying to uncover what's going on and try to find your twin. I found it very eerie and unsettling, and I think it's just, again, I need to go through the games in general because I really love Fatal Frame 2. I think I was in the middle of the first Fatal Frame and I just kind of forgot to keep watching. The next one's another horror survival game. You learn that a good chunk of these are horror survival games. Why? I don't know. Well, I do know because I love horror, but that just means I haven't played a lot of these games. I played through most of this game, but there's one particular boss that just terrifies the living hell out of me. It's not even the final boss, but the way this boss match is set up is not only claustrophobic, but genuinely terrifying. But the evil within, this follows a detective, Sebastian Castellanos, who is like the stereotypical detective. He is a drunk, he lost his wife and his daughter to a fire, and he's just kind of trying to live the rest of his miserable life in as much peace as he can possibly have. Him and his partner Joseph Oda, oh Joe, love Joseph, are called to the scene of a mass murder along with, like, I think Julie, who is a trainee. They're called to a scene of a mass murder in in Beacon Hills Mental Hospital, I want to say is the name. Could be mistaking it with Teen Wolf as well, but that's the hospital. And in this moment, they are transported to a world similar to our own, or a different dimension, where it's basically zombies and scary things and monsters. And you learn that throughout this thing, this one specific patient, my sweet little ducky, I forget his name, but he's my little ducky, is about to be possessed by a terrible malevolent spirit, and it's your job to protect him before it gets to that point. It's not even a first-person shooter. It can be, I think, but it's a shooter horror survival game about zombies. And if you're new to me as a human, or maybe you just didn't know because I don't talk about it, I don't do zombies at all. I don't watch zombie movies. If I do, they're either comedy, parody, or in broad daylight with all the windows and lights turned on. Zombies to me are too close to real life that I'm not gonna do it. Ever since my first zombie movie was I Am Number 4, which was how zombies happened because they were trying to find a cure for cancer. And I was an impressionable, like, what, maybe 10-year-old? So it was just a very formative experience that I do not want to revisit. But you guys have to traverse through this world, defeat all the bosses, and eventually find your way back to the real world. The bosses in this game are specifically horrifying. Let me add to this too. Never play the second game. End it with the first game and just leave your life in mystery, in total mystery. Because the second game will ruin your experience because they made it an open world and then proceeded to remove all the things about the first that were pivotal to Sebastian's character. But the bosses in this world are terrifying. All of them seem to have been created fully out of a nightmare, especially Laura, who is a grudge-looking spider woman that's like 6 times your size. I think there's a decent amount of horror and survival in this game. I think it's pretty well balanced to me, and I find the characters of this story to just be very compelling. I love Sebastian. I loved my little ducky. I loved the bad guy whose name I'm forgetting because it's been a while. I love Joseph Oda. I wrote fanfiction, or started to write about fanfiction about Joseph Oda. I just love these characters so much, and I love being in this world. And the use of the certain musical aspects, like Clair de Lune, I'll never be able to not hear Clair de Lune and think The Evil Within and not Twilight. So I guess character progress in that. But I had a lot of fun with watching this one and starting to play it. I still need to finish it, but not here nor there. I had a lot of fun watching this game unfold. I love seeing the world, and it's just like something about it is just very nostalgic to me. The next 2, or I guess 3 video games, sort of, it's the same series, is Resident Evil 7, 8, and the DLC. I haven't seen the DLC yet, but I've seen clips and it looks heartbreaking. Now, remember what I said about zombies? Yeah, this is one of the other games that I have consumed through watching other people play it. Like, I made my now fiance, then boyfriend, play through Resident Evil Village, and he doesn't play horror games, so that was fun. But this follows Ethan Winters, at least the first game, or the 7th. It follows him throughout, but specifically in the 7th game, just to avoid spoilers for those who may be wanting to tune in. Follows Ethan Winters, who is trying to find his missing wife, Mia. She was set up to do a babysitting gig, I think in the backwoods of like New Orleans, somewhere like that, like Swamp World. And she has gone missing. There are no communications, so he goes to the house where she's supposed to be babysitting at, and finds that the family is not all there. If maybe they were never there at all. And as Ethan is trying to survive this quite horrific, like, what, 48 hours, 36 hours, he's learning more and more about the world that Mia is a part of, and more about what exactly happened to this family. This set of games was my first foray into the Resident Evil franchise. Again, zombies and I do not mix. I watched Markiplier play this on a whim because it looked interesting and I really like the horror aspect. I love the singularity of the location. I love single location kinds of games and movies just because you have to really work with what you got. And I just loved Ethan. Ethan as a character is just so compelling to me. He's so tragic and so heartbroken, and all he wants to do is just be around his family. And I think it's very admirable of a horror, like, of a horror novel, of a horror game main character who's so focused and so driven on reuniting his family that he's willing to go through literally whatever hell it takes to bring them all back together. And I just love him for it. He's my favorite, truly. I don't think there will be another like horror movie dad in a video game that can ever live up to Ethan Winters, because even in the 8th game you learn man's only around because of his sheer will. Kind of a spoiler, not a spoiler, you'll understand more when you get there. Moving on to It Takes Two. This is the first Hazelight Studios games I've played, and I played this with my then boyfriend, now fiance. This follows a couple who is like literally about to sign the divorce papers. They finally break the news to their little girl and they're about to like go their separate ways, and something, whether it's through magic or their little girl's willpower, but they are transformed into itty bitty little microscopic dolls or doll-like figures, and they have to traverse through the worlds of their home and their daughter's own like little imaginative worlds that she creates, and work together to get out of this state and obviously be a parent to their daughter. I loved this game so much. I just loved how these two characters were so idiotic and so stubborn to think that the only way for them to get back to normal was to make their daughter cry, because that's how much they did not want to work together. But it's fun seeing them start to work together as the game progresses and start to kind of realize why they fell in love with each other in the first place, and how a lot of their issues are easily solved by just having a simple and honest talk and communication. I love the mechanics of every different level. It was so much fun figuring out the puzzles and everything, and I'm not like the huge video game girly, so my fiance literally had to wait through a lot of the platforming aspects, which is a lot because it's a platforming game, in order for me to meet him up at the next end. But we had a lot of fun working together. Man has a lot of patience. And I also really love their follow-up game to this, which is Split Fiction. It's their third game, I think, that has a co-op function, and I have a full review of that, which I will leave linked down for y'all. The next one is another horror survival game. There's a running theme here. That is Until Dawn. This follows a group of high school friends on the anniversary of a prank gone wrong, when one of their friends went missing, and two of their friends went missing and are presumably dead. As the friends are kind of getting reacquainted and getting comfortable back in a place that they used to call they were once really comfortable with, they're starting to realize that they are not the only living forms or forms of life that is on this desolate, snowy mountain. Now, their job is to survive until dawn, as the title of the game says. I really loved this game. I loved it because it kind of had like similar like Stranger Things a la mode. Your actions will have consequences. This game has like what feels like infinite endings and infinite ways for the characters to die, and infinite ways to change their relationship or save someone or have someone die. It's just, it feels infinite, but it's not. There's a lot of them, and I love this studio so much. Like I said, I feel like there's infinite ways for them to die, and I just love the characters. There's like so many of them that I love and so many of them that I hate, but I still wanted them to all live throughout the entire night and survive. I think that's the best part about the game, is that even if you hate a character, you feel compelled to want to see the best for them, and I think that's just, it's amazing, truly. The next one is a pixel art survivor horror, and that is Misao. This follows Aki, or I guess like however you want to name the character, as she and her group of friends or group of classmates are transported into another dimension where their missing classmate Misao is haunting them and trying to kill them. It is up to Aki to figure out why this is happening to them, why Misao is targeting them, and put back her dismembered body parts to figure out what happened. This, Mad Father, and Corpse Party are some of the most horrifying pixel art RPGs I have ever witnessed. They are my favorite to watch. Again, will not play because I'm a wimpy wimp. But they're some of my favorite to watch, and I just not loved because it was terrible, but I enjoyed seeing the tragedy that was Misao and figuring out what happened to her and figuring out why she's so very, very justified in her anger to want to murder literally all of her classmates who made her life a living hell. Like, props to you, girl, I understand. But she was just a very tragic character to watch and learn what happened to her, and it was just so heartbreaking to see how everything went down with this poor girl. The next one is the Bioshock series, specifically 1 and 2, but really the entire thing. This follows a underwater, what should have been a utopian city called Rapture. You kind of follow different characters in each game, but you are set in Rapture, which is supposed to be this utopian city where artists and philosophers and all of them like art people want to live, and it's not governed by any one ruling class. It was created by this man named Andrew Ryan, who kind of wanted to avoid government ruling down on him, but because there was no really ruling class to manage all of this, there became a class disparity. There was a black market, there was a genetic modifying situation that really ended up in the city's downfall. You are now kind of traversing through the city and trying to find out what happened to it and how you can get out, and learning more and more about the what led to this what's supposed to be a utopian downfall. I think these series The two specifically more so one, are very topical. It's just about like the city of itself is about a greedy man who wanted to rule and avoid being ruled. So he creates his own city and doesn't realize that because he is a ruler, he has to place upon the rules that he did not want, and which led to the complete downfall of this utopian idea that he had. And we see a lot, like I said, of genetic modifications. A lot of the like zombie-like creatures that are attacking you were once human who have genetically modified their bodies to attempt to find beauty, only to learn that there's no way to attain the beauty that they were looking for, and they have just completely ruined themselves and their mindset trying to get to this point. I love these games. I think they're so equally heartbreaking and so fascinating at the same time. And like I said, super topical. And I loved the creation of the big daddies and the little sisters and the big sisters, who I hate fighting so much. I actually have played through this entire series, so. And I also really love the philosophical and moral aspects of this and what happens when a greedy person wants to rule people. What did I say exactly? It was very profound. There we go. I love the philosophical and moral aspects of the games and what it means when greedy people who want to avoid laws lead, and how that kind of recipe only leads to the manipulation and destruction of the citizens that he is promised to help live this majestic life. A little too topical. Keep that in mind when you play it. And the last game that I will talk about is actually the Legend of Zelda series. I love this series. This was like a series that I used to play or watch my sister play. I used to watch an old childhood friend play, and I just have a lot of fond memories of Legend of Zelda. Basically, this follows. It's a whole web tree situation, but in its heart, it follows Link, who is typically, and his incarnation is like a cute little farm boy, a cute little like quiet village boy, who is then thrust upon to become the savior of Hyrule. And because he is a good person at heart, he takes this responsibility on. Poor thing. And I love the kind of interconnectedness of this series. When I first started playing, the only interconnections that we truly knew about was Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, but as the series continued throughout my entire life, really, we find out recently that the worlds are very much connected and are branches due to minor decisions that each character makes. I love the Zoras. I love every mechanic of the game, even the ones that I despised. I love Link. I love the characters in their many iterations. And I love, it sounds so bad, but I love the tragedy that is Link. This hero who doesn't want to be a hero but is a hero and takes this mantle on with grace. And subsequently the tragedy that is Zelda and Ganondorf, which y'all probably know if you know about Legend of Zelda. But the three of them are typically reincarnated every few years, and they are, you know, we have the hero of time, we have the triangle of wisdom, the triangle of courage, and the triangle of power, something like that. It's been a while. But they are reincarnated multiple times to kind of play out these roles over and over again. And I love this tragedy of this reincarnated hero who is just doing the right thing because he was asked to, and the tragedy of always being the villain and always being the person to have to make the big sacrifices. That one being Zelda, not Ganondorf. But yeah, I love this series. It's just so heartbreaking to me and so beautiful. And Nintendo, I know you're not going to remake it probably ever in my lifetime, but please remake Twilight Princess. That was my favorite of the games, and it just deserves more. But that is it for video games with my favorite storylines ever. But if you have video games with storylines that you love and you would like me to either check out or play or however consume whatever media, let me know in the comments down below. And until then, hit like, subscribe, and comment, and stay safe, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.